गुड इवनिंग फ्रेंड्स। आज हम सेल्सफोर्स में एसक्यूएल के क्वेश्चन देखते हैं क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चंस वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट है एंट्री के लिए। तो बिना टाइम वेस्ट किए क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट करते हैं। What is the SOQL? SOQL is a Salesforce object query language. It is a used to query data from Salesforce object. Second questions. Um, can you explain the syntax of the basic the SQL query? SQL query is made of the 5 different parts. The different is the select clause, which is used to the specify which fields you want to the retrieve data from the clause is a used to specify which object you want to the retrieve data from the where clause is used to the specify any conditions that the data must meet the order by clause is used to the specify you have want to the data to the be started. Next question. How do you select all fields from an object using the SQL? You can select all fields from an object by the using the wide cards in your the SQL query from for example, the following the query would return all fields from the accounts object. Select from accounts. Next question. It is a possible to use multiply where the condition is a SQL statement. If yes, then how? Yes, it is a possible to use the multiply where the condition is one SQL statement. You can do this by using the and or operations between the your the conditions. For examples, where conditions or the condition and the conditions 3. Next questions. Which operator can be used combined to the more criteria with writing a SQL query? The end of operators can be used to the combine to the more criteria when writing a SQL query. Next questions. What are the subqueries and inner queries is a contest with SQLs. Or subqueries are queries that are the inbuilt within the another's SQL query, and inner query is a subquery that is used to the retrieve data from the some object that is being the queries by the outer query. Next question: what is the difference between the parents-child's relationship and lookup relationship? Parents-child's relationship are when one object is the parents of another object and the child's object cannot exit without the parents object. Lookup relationship are when one object has a reference to another object, but the child's object can exit without the parents object. Next questions. How do you access access object using the SQL? You can access object using the SQL by the using the subquery. A subquery is a query that is a nested inside of another query. The router's query is a noun as a parent's query, and the inner's query is a noun as the child's query. The child's query can access data from any object that is a assembled to the parent's query. Next question: what is the maximum number of the records that can be the returns by the single SQL query? The maximum number of the records that can be the returns by the single SQL query is a 1 lakh. Next question: what happen if we exit the limit for the records in the single SQL query? If you are exit the limit for records in the single SQL query, then the query will be fail and you will not be the able to the retrieve any data. Next question: what are the some common errors and that is assure when running the SQL statement? Some common errors that can be occurred when returning SQL statement include the forgetting to the include the semi-style columns, the, the end of the queries, forgetting to the close percentage using and invalid fields name and using and the invalid option object names. Next questions. It is there any way to the check the current status of our active DML operation? If yes, then how? Yes, there is a way to the check the status of the active DML operation in the Salesforce. You can do with this by the checking the a- astronaut of Apex jobs object. This object contain informations about all astronauts Apex jobs, including the information about the status of the jobs. Next question, how do you perform SQL query and a related object? You can perform the SQL query one object related on on related object by the using the subquery. Subquery is a query that is an inside of the another the query. In order to perform the subquery of the related object, you need to the first query that is a parents object. From there the you can case of the parents object ID the fields of the query and related to related objects. And next questions, what are the different type of the relationship queries available in the Salesforce? There are four the different type of the relationship query available in the Salesforce. First, parents to the childs. This type of the query return all of the child's records for the given parents records. Second, childs to parents. This type query returns all of the parents records for the given the child's records. Third, similarly the type of the requeries query returns all records that are the related to the some parents childs. Fourth, self. This type of the query returns in the records and all of the child's records. Next questions. What is the SQL when you should is a perform over the SQS? SQL is a Salesforce object search language. It is a used to the search for the data access all of the object and regards of the whether they are the related to the each other or not. SQL is a should be the use used when you need to the search for the data across the multiple object. Same sorry. Next question, what is the difference between the static and dynamic SQL query? Static SQL queries are the written in the advanced and are not able to the change in the runtimes. Dynamic SQL and query on the other hand are the pulled runtimes and can be the change as a needed. The make dynamic SQL queries more than flexible but also more difficult to the debug. Next questions. What are the limitation of the SQL queries? The main limitation of the SQL query, it is they can be only be used to the query data from the single object at a times. This means that if you want to the query data from the multiple object, you will be the need to the multiple SQL queries, and additionally SQL queries can be only be used to the query data that is already stored in the Salesforce and cannot be used to the query data from the external queries source. Next question, what are the some best practice to follow the when using the SQLs? Some best practice to the follow when using the SQLs include use bind the variable to the avoid SQLs injection injections attacks. Use the limit keywords to limit a number of the records returns. Use the offset keywords to skip the certain number of the records. Use the order by keywords to sort the records. Use the where keywords to filter of the records. Next question, what is the best tools to run SQL queries? The best tools on the run SQL query is a Salesforce Developers Console. Next questions, why we need integration is a Salesforce. Integrations come in the pictures when the integration in the required from the external system. Let us take the example. We want to the validate address of the account records. This can be done using the Google's address and validations of the smartly state API integrations. Next questions. What are the type of the SQL statement in the Salesforce? Salesforce object query language is used to query that records from the database .coms based on of the requirement. There are two types of the SQL statement: static SQLs, dynamic SQLs. Next question: uh, when use REST API, REST API the provide the powerful confined and simple REST based with the service interface in the interacting with Salesforce. It is a advantage include the ease of the integration and the advanced development. It is a an excellent the choice to the technology for use with mobile application and web project. For certain the project you might want to be REST API with order Salesforce REST API to build UI for the creating, reading, updating, and deleting records, including the building UI for the list, view and actions, and the development pick list. Use the user interface API to build UI for the charters. Community of the recommendations use the chatter REST API. If you are have many records to the process, consider using the bulk API, which is the best of the API, the principle and the optimize for the large set of the data. Next question: when to the use and SOAP the API? SOAP API the provide to the powerful convergence and a simple SOAP based web service interface for the interacting with of the Salesforce. You can use SOAP API create interactive the update and delete records. You can also the SOAP API to perform the search and much more. Use SOAP API in any the language that is support web the service. For example, you can use SOAP API for the integrate Salesforce with your the ORG, ERP and finance systems. You can also the deliver real-time the sales and support the information to the company, perform and populate the critical business system with of the customer information. Next questions: when to the use and charters REST API. Use charter REST API to the display charters feeds user the group and followers. The specifically is a mobile application charter REST API also the provide the programmatic access to the files, recommendations, topic, the notification, the data coms and purchasing and more charters REST API. It is a similar to the API offered by the other companies with the feeds such as the Facebook and the Twitters, but if also expose the Salesforce the features and buying the charters. The charters REST API the display the charters feeds users group and the followers is specifically is mobile application charters REST API also to provide the programming access to files recommendations of the topics. Next questions: what is the SOAP? So protocol that is a defined inform the way to the passing XML encoded data. SOAP stand for Simple Object Access Protocol. Next questions: how many types of the API available in the Salesforce? SOAP API, REST API, bulk API, and streaming the API. Next questions: difference between the SQL and SOSL Salesforce. SOQL Salesforce query language, and using the SOQL we can the search only one of the object and one times. We can query on all other fields of any of the data types. We can use SQL in the triggers and the classes. We can perform the DML operation in the SQL query result. Next, SOSL, Salesforce Object Search Language. Using the SOSL, we can the search on many objects at one time. We can query only one fields whose data type in the text, phones, and emails. We can use the triggers but can use classes. We cannot perform the DML operation on one search result. And next question: how SOAP and REST API will communicate? Answer: SOQL will be communicate thought the WSDL files. REST will be communicate thought the HTTP files. Next question: what is the web service? Web service functionalities which code help to the use to integrations. Next questions. What is the WSDLs? WSDLs web service descriptions language. It is a XML document that is a describe a web service. Web service and SODS is a deliver from the Microsoft simple object access protocol SOQL and IPM and network access symbols service specifications language NASL and WSDLs replace both NAWSL and SOAP at a means of the expressing and business service in the UDDI registry. It is a used to the combinations with SOAP and the XML schema to provide web service over the internet and client the programs and connecting to the web service can lead to the SODL and determine which of the function are the available in the servers. Next question, how to the generate SODS files? Attach sign up, attend the setup, develop Apex categories, click on the Apex categories, click on the generate the SODS buttons, generate the SQLs, WSDLs codes and from the categories and save as a WSDLs and come in the your systems. And next questions, can be the tend to do call out from the flow synchronous no, like triggers we tend the cannot do. Call out from the apex action in the flow, call out the out of to be only asynchronous like the mistake statement feature the methodology. Next question, difference between the live message and digital engagement, electronic the communications. Salesforce Classic the live the message, Salesforce the classic live message is the very managed package and support the short codes. Next questions, digital engagement message. Digital engagement electronic communications reside the lightning and provide provisions view and the permission set and license the short code. It is not the supported. Next questions, what is the synchronous apex? Asynchronous apex is implies the run methods in the very separate there at a later time of the backgrounds principle that is imply the where the massive the value of the information process needs to supported HTTP callout and some update in the records in the needed. Next questions, what are data unit the kinds of the asynchronous apex? Majority is majorly this is often for short that is that area you need the flow curable apex schedule apex batch apex and future apex. Next question, why we tend to the cannot pass object and object in the future methods. Future methodology area unit deals in the one times object made the modification between the times it is a noun as a strategy and therefore the times in the execute. Next question, what is the futures decision limit and most varieties of futures methodology in vacations per 24 hours and about the 2 lakhs 15,000 or the quantity of the user's license is the organization the increase by the 200 the which evers is a larger. Next question, can I start the batch jobs and open the finishing the another the batch jobs? Yes, we will be begin is a replacement and batch once batch in finishing. That is often the dreams and methodology example. We wish to the send emails to all and any clients that is a process and statement and batch. Next question, how to decide the provides and schedule the jobs. We have to the purge provis jobs and record the misstatement purge out ascron jobs and methodology code are the going to be like below. और थैंक यू फ्रेंड्स, अगर मेरा चैनल आपको पसंद आता है तो मेरे चैनल को और लाइक सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा। प्लीज मेरे चैनल को लाइक कीजिए और सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। थैंक यू सो मच, मिलते हैं अगले वीडियो में। थैंक यू, बाय फ्रेंड्स।